Hello. I want to talk to you today about the day my pig ruined a birthday party. Before I get into the story, be sure to click that subscribe button because I don't even know why. I have no good reason for you to click it. Just do it anyway because I asked nicely. So this was on a dark and stormy night last November. Okay, it was on a lukewarm day last November. There were no dark and stormy days in November. We live in Indiana. This is not Transylvania. So we were having a birthday party for our youngest, Waffle. The big three kids, big being relative, they have their birthdays together because they all change ages within a couple weeks. And it makes sense to have a birthday party for three. But then poor Waffle over here is all by herself on the other side of the year. So she gets a birthday party all to herself. Is that better? Is that worse? I have no idea. I'm sure she'll yell at me for that in her teenage years. You know what? She's the one who was born then. Don't blame me. Actually, you probably should blame me. It's almost entirely my fault. Let's not get into that. Anyway, she has her own birthday party. We're throwing this birthday party, and we get to the part where it's time to open gifts. And out in the yard, my pig starts squealing like she's being murdered. And I go out and check on her, and she is dragging her back legs and crawling forward on her front legs like she's been paralyzed, like her back snapped in half. And she is screeching so loud that you could hear her blocks away. Like, this is the volume where somebody's going to call the police. This is going to be a problem. Like, we're allowed to have pigs here. I'm pretty sure. I checked the rules. But it's not an issue I really want to throw on people's face. I don't want to have my pig decision validated. I'd rather not have her be a public nuisance. Let's just be subtle with our pig ownership here. Yeah, half paralyzed pig, that's not going to fly. But here's the weird thing. She goes from dying and half paralyzed to, oh, I'm fine. False alarm. And she walks around like that for a few minutes, and then boom, half paralyzed again, crawling around in the yard like she's been shot in the back. And this went on several times. It's kind of hard to have a party when you've got a dying pig in the backyard. And she wasn't just in the backyard. Sometimes she came inside, made those dying noises inside. And it really seemed to set her off when she went through the doggy door. So I wasn't sure what to do. So we call the exotic animal veterinary clinic. Because even though we live in Indiana, and even though pigs are one of the most common domesticated animals on the face of the earth, to treat a pig, you still have to go to an exotic animal veterinarian. Because big vets, regular vets, livestock vets really don't treat pigs for things like this. Because if you have a problem with your farm pig, you just eat it. Like that's the recommended treatment for pretty much every pig ailment. Eat it or let it die and don't eat it. There's really no in between. So for a pet pig, it requires an expert. So we call them, and of course, she's decided to become intermittently half paralyzed right as the exotic vet is closing. So we rush down there and have to pay the after-hours rate. She's not trained to walk on a leash. We've tried, but she's stubborn. Also this day, she was half paralyzed off and on, so I wasn't going to push it. So I actually had to hoist her up in a bean bag and set her in the back of the minivan. And then me and my dad rushed off to the clinic. And we get down there, and we're not the only ones having an after-hours emergency. It was a busy Saturday. And they stick us in this room back there, and by this point the pig is acting fine because she's already cost me a lot of money by setting up this visit. So of course now she's going to act like nothing is wrong. And we look around this room. It was the only room they had left, and there's a box of Kleenex in the corner, and there's a pamphlet on grief. And we realize this is the room where they put you when they're going to put your animal to sleep. Like, this is not the room for recovery. This is not where we want to be. This was not a good omen. So we sit there and we wait a while, while they treat lizards and giraffes and whatever else they treat at this place. And they finally come into us. And it turns out my pig is leaking some kind of fluid on the top of her back like she has a blowhole. So she had a syndrome, and I am not making this up, called dippity pig syndrome. Dippity pig syndrome. It's where they suddenly and inexplicably get like a sore on their back, and it makes them flop. It makes their back legs flop. Like there was nothing making her back legs stop working. Her back legs worked fine, but because her back hurt, she just decided it would be easier to drag the back half of her body and whine about it. And then the sore would stop hurting. She moved just right, and she'd walk around just fine. And then she'd go through the doggy door, and it would brush that sore on the back of her back, and she would drop down. She would dip, and that's where they get the name. They have no idea what causes it. It only happens in mini pigs. It comes and goes, and the treatment is to do nothing. If I would have just stayed here for the rest of the birthday party and let that pig scream like she was being murdered in the backyard, in a day or two, the situation would have worked itself out. So we came back and we did nothing. Well, we didn't do nothing. I think we gave her Tylenol. They called in a Tylenol prescription to our pharmacy. And so we drove through the pharmacy drive-through with a pig in the back of the minivan. Yeah, we were the coolest people in town that day. And so I got some Tylenol for my pig. We brought her back here, and she laid around for a day and a half, and she was fine. In the meantime, I missed Waffles like the whole present phase of that birthday party. There are very few pictures that survived from it because I was busy trying to make sure my pig wasn't dying. At the same time, if we wouldn't have taken her in, I would have felt guilty because if she really was dying, it was going to be a very loud and unpleasant process, and I would probably feel like a horrible human being if I just let my beloved pig die in the backyard. So I really didn't have a choice. My pig forced my hand, but yeah, dippity pig syndrome. Who knew? So that was my adventure with a pig ruining a birthday party. For the record, Waffle does not hold a grudge. She does not remember it. That's the great thing about 2-year-olds. Very poor short and long-term memories. If I were not making this video right now, she would not even know that she was slighted. Now that I think about it, I should go delete this video. But I won't do that because I spent 5 minutes recording it, and what's done is done. All right, thank you for joining me for this. Whatever the heck this was, I will catch you later this week. Thanks. Bye.